That's the word.
So what do? You're a friend to show it to, your agent, someone you trust?
24-hour rule at least.
I think so, yeah.
What's the 24-hour rule?
You never write or commit anything to someone else on paper until you sat on it for 24 hours and read it again. Make sure it wasn't just your mood that day or situation. Yeah. 48 hours, even better, before you show it to anybody. Make sure that you've looked at it 3 times over a period of 48 hours.
Who do you show?
I don't know. If you're lucky, you'll have a friend who is non-judgmental, not jealous of you. That's the worst, when you have friends that are your friends, but they're kind of not your friends. They're sort of jealous because you have Dexter on TV.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
I think what wasn't said there, and I think is the most glaring thing, is that I'm not going to speak for them, but I sure shit am not showing my agents and asking them what they think of the piece.
Why is that?
Well, because you know what, if they really knew what writers do, then they'd be fucking writers. I mean, they wouldn't be agents, you know? So I usually don't write this. I sure as shit would never show an agent anything until it was completely done, and then they said, I want to sell it. If they can't sell it, then I know I have to rewrite it myself, but I'm not going to look to them for advice. Now, I know a lot of people depend on their agents and their managers for critical, artistic advice. I think more in Shane's camp, I'm going to go to a friend of mine, and hopefully we'll be, you know, have no agenda other than just say, this just doesn't work, you know, this is just bad. I'd rather go that way.
Is there some project that you've always wanted to do, a feature, a TV series, something that you couldn't because you just couldn't, and what is that? A dream project that you've always thought, I'd like to do that?
I think everybody has a dream project. I mean, just life in general. I mean, everybody has a dream.
What's your dream project?
I'm not going to get into that, but I mean, I have some things that, you know, one day, hopefully, it's in the door for the last 6 years. Hopefully, we'll have a life. I mean, I think if anything is good, as Shane said earlier, story is story is story. If it's a good story, sooner or later, it will have a life of its own. So you can't, you know, I can't off the top of my head think of how many movies have been in somebody's drawer for 10, 15 years before all of a sudden it became the biggest hit in the world. But if it's a good story, it will live sooner or later.
Shane?
I agree. I think what he said is words are so powerful, so evocative. He says a good story will sit in a drawer, but someday it will live. If you have characters, they have names, they have actions, they're dying to speak. You've spoken through these people in a form of weird psychoanalysis where if there's an old crotchety guy talking to a young impetuous guy, then by God there's a part of you that wants to give up life and another part that's screaming to be heard that life's worth it, and you're dueling them in your head, and that's what writing is you're fighting your own psychological battle in your head by letting yourself work out these things, and these characters are dying to speak, and they're sitting in drawers just waiting to live. And all you have to do is bring them out and let them breathe.
Sooner or later, they will come out.
You know, one of the hardest parts is rejection, especially from the writers. Giving suggestions.
Yeah, I think you have to get accustomed to the reality that 9 out of every 10 things you do is going to be rejected. And if you want to live that life, yeah, exactly right. But if you want to do that, then go ahead and accept that. But that is a reality. I mean, I think that's a fair thing to say. I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Look, the greatest baseball players in the world get it hit 1/3 of the time.
Yeah, you fail 70% of the time, you go to the whole thing. It's like hitting a baseball.
Now, let's talk about you're in a meeting, and you have something you're proud of, and they start picking at it. Someone says, you know, I like the fact that he steals it, but why does he, I mean, he wouldn't steal it. The character wouldn't do that, which I hate. The character will do whatever the fucking character does. I wrote the character. I know what the character will do. But when they start to say these things, there's this urge to be defensive. There's this like, uh-oh. And you start to rock back and forth, and you start to get mad. Take out a pad. It's not as bad. And just write down everything they say without comment. Like he said earlier, just listen. And if you hear one that you can do, even if it's a little thing, star it, mark it, circle it, you've got one thing.
Right.
They don't want all of the things they're saying. If you can give them half, they'll be happy. And once you look at them one at a time, because it's going to seem so overwhelming to be addressed at that one meeting with everyone's input, 50 notes on your precious little baby that they're taking a meat cleaver to, it hurts a lot. So just write them down one at a time, circle the ones you can do, and take a deep breath, but do not get defensive in the meeting.
It's true. If you lose your cool, the one thing that I've learned in this business, and once you get branded with a reputation, And God knows, when I first came out here, branded with the reputation. And everybody, I've heard everything in the world said about me, that I am intractable, I'm stubborn, I'm a pain in the ass, I work for the CIA, I work for the mafia, I'm a drug addict, I'm an alcoholic. And the one thing I've learned is that, one, I never correct them, because you ain't going to change their minds. So whatever they're going to say about you, no matter how much you change, and there's no forgiveness in this town. If you maybe were an asshole 20 years ago, but you have to be a nice guy now. It doesn't matter. You're still the asshole. I mean, so, it's like the suit you bought when you're 20 is the suit you're going to be wearing when you're 40. You're screwed. And accept that as what it is, no matter how nice you are. And I would never go out of my way to, correct somebody. Whatever they think my life has been, let them think it, because they ain't going to change their minds. I don't know if that has anything to do with
No,
what
it has
you
to
said,
do with
but
not being defensive.
right, you can't. You just let it go. Just let it go. You know who you are. Let it go.
We have to end somebody, just ask two more questions. You were starting out, didn't have an agent, didn't know your name, and you just wanted to become a successful screenwriter, TV writer. What would you do?
I'd write a great story. I would write just a great story. I'd plot it out. I would know what
kind of story?
I think, I don't know. If everybody wants to write if you want to write a TV show, which is brutal to get into that world, it's a small select group. Or if you want to write a feature, just know what the first act is, know what the end of the second act is, and the end of the third. You don't have to plot out everything, but know where you're ending in, because I got to tell you, maybe he's different, but if you don't know where you're going, that's death. You will never stop, because you don't know what the rules are, you don't know what the parameters are. So, you don't have to know every single fucking beat. The studios all want to know every single beat. I mean, I've gotten to the point where in my situation, I won't write outlines. He gets to just kind of show up and make them, but they want me to write an outline. I won't do it, because then the studio executives sit there and say, oh, well, this was your fourth beat. And I'm going, yeah, well, I changed it. Yeah, well, we want that. It's like, yeah, but when I was writing it, it's better now to use that fourth beat, because there's a certain spontaneity, there's a certain creativity going into that. But if you're going to write a spec script, which you should, if you want to write a story and sell it, just know where it ends. Just know where you're going. Don't kid yourself thinking I'll figure it out at the end. You'll never finish it.
It's funny, because I do sort of that, but not really that. I believe in taking it through to the absolute last moral dilemma, but not solving it yet.
Right. Yeah, but do you do every single beat?
No.
If this, let's say, hypothetically speaking, if this, I don't know what there was, but it's like, let's say 30 beats in the first act. You know every single beat?
Oh, of course not.
No, okay.
You reverse. How many people know about reversals in movies? Okay, good. How many people here want to write TV and movies? Okay, how many of you have actually had experience on the job working, say, or at least interviews with agents, managers, and or studio people for writing? Okay, so it's actually a pretty good group. Usually you have a lot of people who just, will show up and somehow osmosis will make us writers. You actually write, you guys. That's good. There's a daily maintenance program where you have to dredge every day to keep your channel clean. If you don't write and the ideas start to stack up, how many of you have prostate problems? Men, mostly. When you have a lot of secretions that build up, the pressure to come out, there's so many things trying to get out in a little tiny space that nothing comes out because it jams up. Unless you clear the channel every day. So
Does it have to be prostate cancer?
Cancer problem. Prostate doesn't mean cancer.
Right? Isn't that a more positive kind of sexual thing? It's just like,
Anyway, I think that's it. Thank you for your honesty. Great. It's very, very helpful. Thank you. We're going to start right here right away.